Welcome back to Tai Chi for Life, where we build strength, health, and balance. So you are now going to have our lesson part 2 for Yang style waving hands in clouds. Our last lesson, we covered up to one particular point of waving hands in clouds, and now I will take you on to complete the form. So let's review and you can follow me. So we start with our feet shoulder width apart, holding that ball, our head stretching to the sky. Weight shift to the right, cradle. Lateral step to the left. Weight shift and rotate. Little step and push. Now from here, I have a few sayings to help you remember this little flourish of our hands. So we just pushed. Now we're going to paint the fence with our left hand, and our right hand comes up and our left hand tucks under the dantian. So you see now we are cradling on the left side just as we were on the right. So it's a nice expression of the yin and yang, where we switched roles. So let's try that together from the beginning. Weight shift, lateral step, weight shift and rotate, little lateral step, which causes us to push, then paint, then switch hands. So you should look like this, nice and rounded. 2 more times. Push, paint, cradle. Push, paint, cradle. Now, do you think that you could do that on your own? This would be a good time to push pause and try to practice that much on your own. And if you feel like you need a little more practice, then that's the beauty of our video, is you can rewind and practice with me a few more repetitions. So I really encourage you not to move on until you feel like you have this. So welcome back. I hope you pushed, paused, and practiced. And now let's move on for the rest of this sequence. It's really important to remember that it is our feet that initiates the movement. Oftentimes in Tai Chi we focus on the hands, we move the hands, but it's really important to keep in mind that it all initiates in our feet, and then our hands are really a flourish of that energy afterwards. So I'll explain how that relates to waving hands in clouds as we progress. So let's start from what we know. Weight shift and cradle. Lateral step. Weight shift and rotate. Little step in. Push. Paint and cradle. Now from here, you simply weight shift back to the right. And we're just going to repeat the sequence. So, lateral step, and once that heel hits the ground, that is your accelerator, and it causes your right hand to push, paint, and cradle. So let's do that 3 times together. Always the foot first, then the hands. Weight shift and cradle. Step, rotate. Step, push, paint, cradle, rotate. Step, push, paint, cradle. And if you're with me, you would know that next is rotate. Again, weight shift and cradle. And here we begin our sequence. Step, rotate, step, push, paint, cradle, rotate, step, push, paint, cradle, rotate. Again, weight shift and cradle, step, rotate, step, push, paint, cradle, rotate, step, push, paint, cradle, rotate. So it's always step, push, paint, rotate. Step, push, paint, rotate. And we take 3 larger steps to the left, since we're doing waving hands in clouds to the left, and that completes the sequence. Most times in Tai Chi, when things are repeated, it's in a multiple of 3, which is a beautiful thing. So we do waving hands in clouds 3 times to the left. So if you think you have the sequence, I'm going to go ahead and move you through the entire 3 repetitions. If not, please push pause, rewind, and practice a few more times. Follow me. Begin. Weight shift to the right. Cradle. Here's our first step. 1. Rotate. Step. Push. Paint. Cradle. Rotate. Second step. Push. Paint. Cradle. Rotate. Little step. Push. Paint. Cradle. Rotate. Third large step. Step. Push. Paint. Cradle. Rotate. Little step. Push. Paint. Cradle. And then we rotate so that we end where we started, but our hands are reversed, which is another example of yin and yang, the exchange of roles. And from here, we simply come back to the middle. For right now, we'll do an open and close and push out and stand up. So you see that we count the 3 by the large step with our left foot. So let's just do our legs. So our hands will just rest here to the side. So we weight shift to the right, and here's where we cradle. Then we take a large step, and we weight shift. And we take a little step, maintaining that shoulder width. We weight shift to the right, take our second larger step, weight shift to the left, and a little step. Weight shift to the right, and our third larger step, weight shift, little step, and then we would be back to our right side, and we would come back to middle. So you see that it's just a series of 3 steps. Here we are gathering energy, delivering energy. gathering energy, delivering energy. Gathering energy, delivering energy, and settling in. So I hope that helps clarify a little bit the stepping. So let's try to put it all together. We'll repeat it 3 times, and that will be your whole waving hands and clouds to the left. Follow me. That's our first step. And then we do a little step, push, paint, switch hands, rotate. Our second larger step, push, paint, cradle, and rotate. Little step, push, paint, cradle, weight shift. And finally, the third step, push, paint, cradle, rotate. And then we finish off with a little step, push, paint, cradle, ending where we started. Hands are switched. And let's just come back to the middle, do a nice breath in and out, and standing up. Now, I know how sometimes irritating it is to have to keep rewinding to practice, so I'm going to go ahead and do this 2 more times so that you can practice with me. How was that? Feeling a little better? And if you need to say it out loud to yourself, feel free to do that. One more time. So that completes lesson 2, or part 2, on waving hands and clouds. So I would encourage you to just practice that until you feel it's nice and flowing and the edges are feathered and rounded. In other words, I'm teaching it very systematically, but feel free to start to blend it together and make it your own. The only thing is that you must step before you turn, paint, and cradle. The foot always initiates it. Just think that that's an accelerator in the car, and that causes the movement to change in your hands. Now, next lesson, we'll do waving hands and clouds to the right, and you'll be surprised how much easier it is to learn since you already know it to the left. Thank Thank you for joining me with Tai Chi for Life, and it is always with strength and friendship and humility that I have the privilege of teaching Tai Chi to you. Thank you. See you next lesson.